What's up everyone, welcome back. Today we're going to show you 5 ways you can rig up a worm. We're going to show you guys how to rig up some worms today. And honestly guys, I love fishing worms. Doesn't matter what it is, 𝗙𝗶𝗹𝗶, ribbon tail, finesse. It's one of my go-tos, especially in the summertime when it comes to largemouth bass fishing. Great way to get on a finicky bite, great way to get on a bite in general, and worms are just a lot of fun to fish. So let's get into rigging up some worms, starting with the Texas rig. The Texas rig is probably one of the most common ways to rig a worm. To do this, what you guys are gonna need is an offset worm hook and a bait like a 𝗙𝗶𝗹𝗶, or in this case, a stick worm. And I recommend using an offset worm hook over like an EWG. I think there is more benefit to it, but use whatever you guys got. To do a Texas rig, all you're gonna do is you're gonna take that hook, run it through the tip of the bait, pull it all the way down, twist that hook around, just poke it through a little bit so that worm is sitting straight on that hook. Now, I know I did that kind of fast. If you guys are looking for a more in-depth video on Texas rigging, we actually have one on the channel, so just hit the link in the description below and you can learn all about Texas rigging. But I prefer using the offset worm hook with a bait like this just because it's gonna be slimmer, you're gonna get in and out of those weeds a little bit better, you're still gonna get good hook exposure, and all in all, it's just a little more fitting. So that's the first way, super popular way to do it. Now, since we have the 𝗙𝗶𝗹𝗶 out, we're gonna actually take this off this hook and do the next rig. This is another really popular way to fish a stick bait, and it's honestly as simple as it gets, that being the Wacky Rig. The Wacky Rig is a super simple rig that, you know, I need to get hip to fishing it a little more often because it does work, but for some reason I just can't get away from the Texas rig. But anyways, what we're gonna do here is we're gonna take our worm, turn it completely sideways, and we're just gonna take that hook and run it through the middle of the bait so that bait sits on the hook like that. Now, this looks funky. A lot of people probably at first are like, wow, this is a weird way to fish a worm, but it really does work, and it's a different presentation for this particular worm. And what's cool about it is they actually make circular hooks specifically for wacky rigging them. There's a bunch of different ways you can do this as well. There's kits you can buy at the store that have like a little rubber band on them that you can run over that hook to get that, you know, that worm to stay on there a lot longer, because, you know, soft plastics tend to rip after a few fish. But Wacky Rig is another crowd favorite. Now, moving on to a more finesse approach, we have the Shaky Head. You will always find me fishing a finesse worm on a shaky head. It's one of my favorite ways to catch fish. Whenever I'm fishing deeper water, like maybe like a main lake dam or anywhere that has a really rocky structure, I'm gonna throw one of these guys. So this right here is a finesse worm. This is gonna pair great with this shaky head. All you're gonna do is you're gonna take this worm and you're gonna twist it onto the spring of that shaky head. You're gonna just keep on twisting until the top of that worm is pushing up against the jig head. Once you're there, your worm will look like this, and we're just gonna take the tip of that hook and run it through the bait just so that it has a little bit of exposure. Again, you're gonna stay weedless, you're gonna stay snagless. This is a really great way to catch bass when those fish are being lazy in the summer and they're in deep water, or they're just being finicky and they don't wanna hit anything. Finesse is an awesome way to catch bass. Moving on to another rig, this will be like the 4th one. This one is very popular when it comes to fishing deeper water. This is like another great finesse approach when it comes to bass fishing, that being the drop shot. So I'll show you guys how to rig one up quickly here. I have a spool line just because if I were to bring a rod in here, it'd probably hit the ceiling. You guys are gonna need a little weight. This right here is a drop shot weight. You can buy weights specifically for drop shots. So what we're gonna do is we're going to attach this weight on the end of the line. All right, once we've done that, we're gonna go up about a foot and we're gonna make a loop. All right, so I made a little loop in my line, and the reason that I did that is because we're going to attach the hook with a polymer knot. Now, when it comes to fishing drop shots, oftentimes you guys are gonna use a little small hook like I have right here. Now, the reason we're gonna tie a polymer knot is because it's going to allow that hook to sit upright. So if you hold your hook forward and run that loop through the front of the eyelet on the hook, it will allow you to tie this so that the hook positions correctly. So let me feed this guy through here. We're gonna make a loop, pull it out about 2 or 3 inches, tie a regular knot, and then we're gonna pull that hook through the loop. Pull it down snug, and boom, your drop shot setup is ready to go. So as you guys can see, I have my weight at the bottom and the hook about a foot above, and that hook is facing right up. Now that's super important because when the fish comes and bites it on the line, when that hook is positioning straight up, it's going to allow you to get a better hook set. From there, all we're gonna do is we're gonna take the hook and just put the tip through the front of the worm. Run it up a little bit and you're good to go. You will have a perfectly upright hook with a bait sitting on there. And drop shots catch a ton of fish. I love fishing a drop shot for smallmouth. It's a really great way to get on a great deep water or finesse bite. So we're gonna keep the fluorocarbon out and we're gonna show you guys one more rig. And what's awesome about Carl's Bait and Tackle is they sell this particular rig like as is. You can go on the website, you can buy it, and you're ready to go. So this is the Carolina rig. This is a great setup when it comes to fishing deep water again. Hot weather in the summer when the fish are being lethargic and they really are just kind of staying in that cooler water temperature. You're trying to get on a finicky bite. This is a great way to do it. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna take our Carolina rig kit and we're gonna open this guy up. So once we got it opened up, we're gonna take a bullet weight out, a big bead, a small bead, one of those swivels, and then one of these plates right here. All right, so in total, you're gonna have 5 things here in front of you. What we're gonna do is we're gonna start with the bullet weight and we're gonna thread the bullet weight on. Once you do that, we're gonna follow up with a big bead. From there, we're gonna put on our clacker. And then we're gonna run our small bead. And then we're going to tie on our swivel. You guys use whatever knot you prefer, but I'm gonna go ahead and I'm just gonna tie a clinch knot just because it's probably the quickest thing for me to tie right now. All right, so now that that's done, I'm gonna cut off my tag right here. So now that you've tied on your swivel, your rig's practically ready to go. Now all you're gonna do is you're gonna get a leader. You can just cut yourself a piece of fluorocarbon leader the same size as your main line. We're gonna go ahead and we're gonna tie this leader onto the other end of our swivel. And then from here, all we gotta do is attach our worm. Now I prefer to do this with like a ribbon tail worm. You guys can actually use a Carolina rig with a lot of baits, but a worm is a very popular one. So now when it comes to how much line you have between that swivel and the physical worm, I guess that comes down to personal preference. But for me, I'm gonna do like a foot. Now what we're gonna do is we're gonna take my favorite ribbon tail worm, that being the XO ribbon. We're gonna pop this guy off and we're gonna add our worm on there. I'm gonna go ahead and Texas rig that worm on an offset worm hook like so, just like we did at the beginning of the video. And boom, we got ourselves a Carolina rig. A Carolina rig, like I said, guys, when you're fishing deeper water or, you know, the dog days of summer, this is just a great way to catch bass. Stay tight to the bottom, make some noise with the clacker and your beads right there. Really, really awesome rig for bass fishing. So there you guys have it. There's 5 different ways you can rig up a worm. Again, fishing worms is a great way to get on a good bass bite, and it's one of my favorite things to do. So hey, do me a favor, leave me a comment down below. Let me know your favorite way to rig up a worm, and if there's one that I missed, maybe drop that down as well, because maybe in the future we'll do a tutorial on rigging that up. You know, we're always open to new rigs, new ideas. But with that being said, thank you guys so much for watching. Do me a favor, smash that like button and hit the subscribe button. We got tons of videos coming at you here on the channel. I'll catch you guys later.